this might be the most unexpected product I've received in the last 6 months. It is the Garmin Approach G20, which is a solar-powered handheld GPS unit. Should you buy it? Is it worth it? Let's do a quick review and I'm gonna tell you my thoughts. So of all the things I expected Garmin to release this year, a solar-powered GPS unit, not what I was expecting. So first impressions out of the box, it's a typical Garmin package, same gray box, no frills, nothing overly impressive, but it's Garmin. Their reputation stands alone and they don't need to spend money on the extra packaging. So I will say the unit was a little bit smaller than I expected it to be, which I think is a good thing. There's a magnet on the back, so if you ride in a cart and you wanna just stick it there, you're able to do that, very similar to the Bushnell Phantom. I think that's going to be one of the biggest competing products for people that are looking at this, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. It also comes with this nice little clip here. And so that's magnet as well. So it just snaps in there, which I think is great. So for me personally, when I was testing this out, I was carrying my clubs. So I just took this, I clicked it onto a carabiner on my bag, and it worked great. And I was able to get all the distances I needed. One of the coolest features of this is when I first took it out of the box, I turned it on and it had its solar page. And so I could see exactly how much solar power it was getting at that moment. It would show me how much battery I still had, and it would also show me how much battery life I have added in that particular session. I was pretty shocked when it had been outside for 5 minutes and I come down, it's like, you've added 19 minutes of battery life to this device, which, that was just kind of cool. I thought the solar power thing, I thought was gonna be kind of a gimmick. I didn't think it would actually add that much power, but shockingly, it seems like it actually adds quite a bit. And considering even right out of the box, the battery life on this was 6 days, this is one thing where I really don't think you're gonna have to worry about battery life. That being said, if for some reason it does die and you need a quick charge, there is a USB-C port on the side, so you can open that up, plug it in, give it some juice, and you're gonna be good to go. Now, one thing that I thought was kind of interesting about this is, to be clear, this isn't a super cheap device. This is a $299 handheld GPS. And so at that price point, you kind of expect maybe a color screen, detailed hole maps, and you don't really get any of that with this. It's definitely the more basic level of Garmin GPS data. So it's gonna be more similar to what you're going to get on the G12 or the S12 watch. In fact, I think the S12, which is just kind of a much smaller non-solar version of this, also going to be one of the products I would consider looking at if you're thinking about buying this. So this is not a touchscreen. There are up and down buttons on the left to allow you to scroll through menus. The up button also doubles as the power button. On the right, you have the select button, the OK button, and then on the right below that, you have the go back page. So using it is actually super intuitive. It's really easy to use, and I personally like the fact that there are physical buttons. I think with something this size and this type of unit, I just think it's going to make it more easier to navigate for most people, and this is really, really well implemented. So as with most Garmin GPS products, this does pair with the Garmin Golf App, which I love the fact they are building this ecosystem. So if you are all in on Garmin, say you've got a Garmin launch monitor, you've got a Garmin rangefinder, you've got Garmin GPS or Garmin watch, you're getting all of that data in one place, which I think is really, really smart. As with most of those other GPS devices, you can set this up to keep score. You can also do stat tracking with this as well. I will say for me personally, I don't love using this for scorekeeping as much as I would say a Garmin watch. Having to go back to my bag or go back to my cart every time to enter it in, it's not my favorite user experience, and frankly, I would kind of forget about it. So for me, this is really about GPS, yardages, and using it for that. But if you do want to keep score, if you do want to track your stats, you are able to do that. Also, one other cool feature, if you pair it with the Garmin Golf app, you will get wind data in this as well. But as you've seen me talk about on some of my other reviews, I think wind data in a lot of these devices should be taken with a big grain of salt because we have no idea where that wind data is actually coming from. Is there a tower that's a quarter mile away, or is it 20 miles away? And what the wind is doing on any given hole, who really knows? GPS accuracy with this seemed dead on, as it pretty much always does with Garmin devices. They are the best in the business when it comes to GPS, so really there's not much more to say on accuracy. It's really good, and that's not a concern for me here. The one thing that is a slight concern, and this isn't a major thing, but it's something worth noting, is you can obviously get distances front, center, back of green. You can use this to adjust the day's pin, so you can get more accurate distances to the flag, and then you can also get hazard data. But considering there are no built-in hole maps with this, it's kind of like the green and then kind of like a timeline of where the hazards are on the hole. Sometimes it can be tough to really figure out which hazard you are looking at because you don't have that map that's there. It's really no different from any other GPS watch or handheld GPS that does this the same way, but considering this one's $300, you would like to see a little bit more. I think I would have liked to see some of those hole maps included, but I also recognize that the point of this is solar, and if you're including all that extra data, then the solar aspect probably doesn't work. The display, despite the fact it's not a color display, it's very easy to read, regardless of what the conditions have been outside, cloudy, sunny, rainy. I've had no issues seeing the screen and very quickly getting the data that I need. So now the question is, should you buy this? And the answer is maybe. If you look at the sales page for this and you're like, yes, this is exactly what I want. Something that's simple, I can use it on a cart, I can use it carrying. It's honestly small enough that you really could clip this to your belt if you wanted to. I don't think it's going to be that intrusive to do so. So it's a good size, it's very flexible. The solar power capabilities actually work better than I expected them to and is a very kind of cool, unique feature. But it's $300 for a basic GPS. So you can get a similar experience with devices that cost half as much as this. Little caveat is if you go with that Bushnell Phantom, for instance, you don't have the Garmin ecosystem. So if you do want to use this to keep score and keep track of your statistics, well, that's going to be a big reason to go with this over something from a different brand. Then you could also go the other way. If you're already going to spend $300, you could spend a little bit more and you can get the Garmin G80. So this is also a handheld GPS unit, but it's full color, it gives you whole maps, and it's also a built-in launch monitor. So you can literally take this, set it on the ground, and it's going to give you some basic numbers around what your shots are doing. Is it the most accurate launch monitor in the world? Absolutely not, but it can give you a general idea of how far the ball is going, which can be a really useful feature. And so the fact you get all of that extra stuff for only $200 more is pretty compelling. It's also a little bit bigger, it's got a little bit of a bigger screen. One thing I will note about this is the G80 has not been updated in a number of years, and so it doesn't have a built-in magnet. It comes with this kind of weird case that I've always found to be kind of just not great. So the built-in magnet that this has to just stick on your cart is a much better user experience, but this is going to provide a lot more features. If it's me personally, you've probably watched my other reviews, you know that I use a Garmin GPS watch, so I'm probably skipping all of these and I'm just sticking with the watch, which can give me just as much data and then some. But if you're in the market for a device that does this, it does exactly what it says it's going to do, it does it very well, and I think it's worth buying, even if I don't necessarily think it's the best value at $300. With that, my name is Sean Ogle, I'm the founder of this thing here at Breaking 80. If you haven't subscribed yet, well, what are you waiting for? Go hit the subscribe button, drop a comment, let me know if you have any questions, and hopefully we'll see you on the next video. Peace.